We'd like to welcome you to this wonderful exhibit. We have our new book. I'm Diane Stevenett, Leslie James. We only have one because it's literally hot off the press as of 5 o'clock tonight. It is our proof. You'll be able to buy it at PicassoMuse.com.
Really?
Yes. And I'd like to introduce our guests of honor. We're going to have a little forum. You can ask questions. They're going to talk about, this is Miss Cheri Peake. We all dearly love her. Husband was Channing Peake. And there's a wonderful original Picasso that says to Peake in the other room. It's locked in the case. And this is my cohort and wonderful, the collector of this beautiful collection here is Leslie James. This show is indeed a labor of love, and I'd like to turn the time over to Leslie and to Cheri.
Cheri, please.
Well, Channing met Picasso in 1953. What I know is what Channing told me, the stories he told me. So that's what I'll relate if you're interested in hearing that, because that's what I know. Yeah. They had the same art dealer, Frank Pearls, who, when he died in the New York Times, they said he'd go to Christie's and Sotheby's and spot fakes. Frank Pearls had such a good eye, and he was Picasso's dealer and also Channing's. And Channing had always wanted to meet Picasso. He said, usually your heroes have feet of clay, but Picasso didn't. And when they met, Channing always wore a Stetson hat because he was a cowboy and had a ranch and raised quarter horses. So
In the San Ynez Valley?
In the San Ynez Valley, yeah. And they went to Vallauris, where Picasso had his ceramic studio. And they were playing around as if Picasso was really playful, and Francois Gillot, and they danced, and there was music, and he just took his hat and put it on Picasso's head, his Stetson hat. And Picasso loved it. He played with the hat, and then he picked up a little bull and signed it and gave it to Channing. And Frank Pearls had been to an old Paris auction house, a famous Hotel Drouot, and he had bought a Rembrandt for Picasso, and he said, you give him a Stetson hat and you get the prize, you know. And he bought a Rembrandt, and Channing got the bull, yeah. So I know. And then after that, he'd say, I don't like to take you, but you put Picasso in a good mood. So he'd take him with him, because I'm pretty sure with Picasso you had to buy directly. You didn't get anything on consignment. You know, it wasn't like with most artists and the gallery dealers. So that Channing just had many visits with Picasso and knew his wives and Francois Gillot, who wasn't his wife, and the children, and they came to visit at the ranch in San Ynez. So, I mean, that's all I can think of right now.
But that's a lot to start with.
It's a lot to start
Cheri,
with.
that's good.
If anybody has questions, ask them.
About them painting together and having drawing contests?
Well, no, they'd have contests with, well, not contests, but Picasso would draw a bull and Channing would draw a bull. He thought Channing was a good draftsman.
Where did they meet? Where was all this taking place?
They met in Vallauris in France, and that was 1953, the first time they met. Yeah. And they just had a friendship for many years, and Frank Pearls and Picasso and Channing all had birthdays within a day of each other.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
What days were they?
I know Channing was 24th, and Frank was either the 23rd or 25th. Well, I think Picasso was the 25th, but I'm not sure.
The same month?
But they were the same October. Yeah, they were within one day, so they'd send each other cards, or they'd get in touch some way, because they shared birthdays. So.
My favorite story, though, you said that they would do funny things. Like one time they hired a band of musicians, and then they stood out, they had them pose in front of the Picasso restaurant, and then did they sit in with instruments?
Yeah, it was a clothing store that said Picasso. Oh. So they all had a good sense of humor, so they play around like that.
And then send in the pictures vice versa.
Did you get to meet
No, no, I didn't. She's too young.
Too young.
Leslie did.
Yeah, that's where Leslie met.
Well, I have some photographs in the next door there. You may have seen them in the case. Four pictures of Picasso at a bullfight in Fréjus in the south of France. And it was either in 1964 or 1965. My brother said it was 64. He's a better memory for dates than I have. I think it might have been 1965, but I'm not quite sure. But we were just camping. You know, I used to go to the south of France fairly regularly in my little Triumph Spitfire from Dublin.
And you were
Ireland.
young, weren't you pretty young?
I was 24 at
Yeah.
the time, 24 or 25, and my brother was 17.
I'm still a Spitfire.
And so anyway, we were all camping on the on Tahiti plage in Saint-Tropez. It was a pretty free-spirited beach, shall we say, back in those days. And we'd also stayed at the Ile de Levant of Le Lavandou, which was, half of it was owned by the French Navy, and the rest of the half was sort of a naturist environment, shall we say. It was rather like Monesa, and used to be. And so I had a lovely girlfriend, Ingrid, from Germany, and we all trotted off to see the great bullfight at Fréjus, which is a Roman amphitheater that's still functioning today. You know, they still have bullfighting in the south of France, as you may or may not know. In Béziers every year, in October in fact, this month they have wonderful ferry in Béziers in the south of France. And I have a house close to there, that's how I happen to know about it. But anyway, so we showed up at the bullfight, and Picasso was quite close to us, and I took some photographs. But on the way out of the bullfight, my German girlfriend was very upset by the gore and the blood. It's rather an intense thing, you know, the bullfighting thing. And El Cordobés was the great matador of the whole epoch. He was great.
You saw him that?
Oh yes, he was there. And I will share a magical moment with you. Would you like that? I mean, I mean, this was quite new to me. And we were quite close to Picasso. He wasn't very far away, a few feet maybe. And so El Cordobés brought the bull right in front of Picasso's box. And I have to get it off my chair. And delivered the coup de grace. And the bull is falling to its knees in the death throes. And as it's falling, Picasso, the matador takes his sword and cuts off the bull's ear. At this time, of course, Ingrid is absolutely freaking out. And El Cordobés reaches down like that, grabs the bleeding ear of the bull, and goes like that, and throws it up to Picasso in the box. And we're just sort of speechless, and Pablo reaches out and goes like that, and captures it. And at this moment, I'm totally shocked. I mean, this machismo, this whole spirit is amazing. And I mentioned this in the book, by the way. This is not an ad for the book, but anyway. I was telling this story in the south of France about 4 or 5 years ago over a dinner party. And they said, oh, but Leslie, we all know that moment. This is a famous moment in French history because somebody took the perfect photograph of Pablo doing this with the... So I said, really? I still haven't seen the picture yet. But anyway, on the way out from the arena, we passed Picasso and his family, and Paloma and Bernard and the grandchildren and so on. And he was terribly taken with my brother Richard, and came right up to Richard and looked into his eyes for the longest time. And then he walked away, because he was actually, the gendarmerie was in one of the pictures there, grabbed Pablo by Picasso by the shoulder to pull him away from my brother. And he walked away, and just as I couldn't go on State Street, turned around to take another look. And at that moment, I took a photograph of Picasso, and he posed for me just ever so slightly. But Picasso did pose for me. I had lost the picture, and I saw it on my boat,